So in 2014, a sleeping baby nearly died after an officer threw a stun grenade on his chest during a no-knock raid. So the room was empty, the officer barges in, throws a stun grenade, lands right in the crib on the 19-month-old baby's chest. Blew a hole in the chest. Now, somehow, the baby survived. I don't know how, but obviously there was a tremendous amount of damage, severe injuries, and it required a lot of hospital visits, a lot of surgeries in order to make it so that the baby survives. So civil rights charges were brought up against the officer, Nikki Autry, and we get the word today that she's not guilty on all charges. So, I mean, there should be other obvious things that should have been brought up but as charges, whether it's whatever, some form of gross negligence in the sense that you don't know what's going on or who's in there, but you throw the stun grenade and nearly kills a baby. Or also just the fact that they were doing this no-knock raid because they had gotten a tip from somebody that the people in the house were selling amphetamine. They weren't selling amphetamine. Totally innocent. So think about that. That's like you. I'm sure you are not selling amphetamine. Could you imagine somebody barges into your house and throws a stun grenade on your kid's chest, nearly kills your kid, and you did nothing wrong? You're like, what the fuck is happening when they break down the door? And then you try to get some kind of recourse, whether it's through actual charges, which they didn't get, or some kind of civil rights charges because the family, I believe, was Indian and she was white. Nothing. Nothing stuck. Nothing stuck. So Bounkham, or Bou Bou as the baby's called, Phonesavanh, is still recovering from the severe injuries, and his medical bills are close to $1 million. Of course, the parents are furious that, nothing, they weren't able to get her on anything, this officer on anything, and she's ecstatic. So after the trial, she said, quote, "I'm just happy everyone sees the truth." What truth? What truth? Because whether or not you meant to, gravely damage the baby or not, the reality is, shouldn't you still face some kind of consequences? And serious consequences, criminal consequences. And I don't know what the answer is, but nothing strikes me as you getting off very easy and justice not being served. Now, initially, I want you to understand this, too. The county refused to even pay for the medical bills of this poor family. Again, I want you to put yourself in their shoes. You're minding your business, you never sold drugs, but somebody tells somebody who tells them that, hey, maybe they're selling amphetamine. So they bust in your door, no-knock raid, and nearly kill your baby. How would you feel? What would you do? Do you think that, there should be some kind of justice here, where there should be some kind of punishment? And there's not. It's amazing. It's amazing. And then they refused to pay the medical bills. Now, somehow they were able to get a settlement, though, later on, after going through a process where they got $964,000. I'm not even sure if that covers all the medical bills. And in reality, in my opinion, they should not only get their medical bills paid for, obviously, but then also, I'd say they should get some sort of compensation. If the state nearly kills your baby in this grossly negligent way where you're falsely accused of selling drugs when you weren't, and then they almost kill your baby when they do their no-knock raid, oh, absolutely you should get something out of that, and there should be some kind of punishment. So understand how fucked up this system is that we have right now. And, I mean, in all seriousness, I disagree with this from the very premise. And the premise, of course, is that law enforcement should be able to bust down your door, use violent tactics, because they heard through the grapevine that somebody was selling drugs when they weren't. Because in my view, even if they were selling drugs, I don't care. Ooh, I know, radical. Radical of me to say that and have that opinion, but what, not radical to blow a hole in the chest of this poor family's baby when they weren't doing anything wrong at all? No, you know who the real radicals are? They are. You know what's really radical? The system as it exists right now, which gives law enforcement officials a green light to basically harass minority communities under the guise of, we're doing it because of the drug war, we're protecting society from these horrible substances sold by these horrible people. No, it was the same thing with prohibition. When you banned it, When you made it illegal, it got pushed underground, and the mafia became immensely powerful as a result of it. The reason why criminals are dealing with the substance, insofar as they are, is because you made it illegal and pushed it underground. So criminals, by definition, are going to be involved in the trade. So when there's a dispute, people are going to shoot each other as opposed to going to court to solve it. It happened with alcohol when alcohol was illegal, never mind all the bad batches and poor regulation where people died because they made the alcohol in bathtubs with shitty chemicals. But it happens now with drugs too. That's why the cartels are super powerful, because you made the drugs illegal. And you've, again, given a green light for law enforcement officials to harass anybody and everybody, and they mostly harass poor people and minorities, because you said, okay, those are the bad communities, those are the ones you need to police, so justice is on your side, morality is on your side if you do no-knock raids because you hear that somebody may be selling amphetamine. It's such bullshit, man. Could you imagine some sort of law enforcement raid, no-knock, aggressive, violent raid into the house of the CEO of Budweiser, for example, the CEO of Jack Daniels? You knock down the door to their multi-million-dollar mansion and you throw a stun grenade on the chest of their kid, and then you blow a hole in the kid's chest. You think that guy would possibly get justice? You think that cop would be locked up in that scenario? And you don't even need to use the example of the CEO of Budweiser or Jack Daniels. I mean, you could use Red Bull, Monster Energy, the pharmaceutical companies that sell Xanax or Percocet. No, of course, in that case, we'll go, oh my God, why would you do that? That's his job, is to head a company that sells a substance that fucks people up and intoxicates them. But nobody thinks that there's a moral dimension to that and they're criminals. No. We just say, no, that makes sense because whatever, there's a market demand and they're filling it. It is what it is. It's the free market. But when it comes to certain drugs, oh my God, you could go in there and blow a hole in the kid's chest by throwing a stun grenade in there and then have no justice afterwards. No, I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. We have to change the laws so that bullshit like this stops happening.